The Noble Knight archetype, known as the Holy Knights in the Japanese, are a series of purely warrior type level 4 or level 5 monsters that come in either the Holy Light attribute or the Unholy Dark attribute. And as of their latest support in 2020, a new subgroup of them have arrived in the form of the Infernoble Knights, known more simply in the Japanese as the Flame Holy Knights. These, like their name implies, are all of the fire attribute, with the main deck monsters so far being only level 1 or level 4. The Noble Knights are supported by the Noble Arms, a group of equipped spell cards that each possess its own ability that it can bestow on those that wield it. And equally, the Infernoble Knights have their own Infernoble Arms equipped spell cards. The first Noble Knight to be released was Noble Knight Archetype, who debuted in the 2012 pack Galactic Overlord. From here, new support would be continuously added at regular intervals over the next 8 years, appearing in Return of the Duelist, Cosmo Blazer, Abyss Rising, Judgment of the Light, Shadow Spectres, Legacy of the Valiant, Lord of the Tachyon Galaxy, Primal Origin, Noble Knights of the Round Table Box Set, 2015 Megatin Mega Pack, Battle of Legends, Relentless Revenge, Cybernetic Horizon, 2018 Megatin Mega Pack, Soul Fusion Special Edition, Extreme Force, Rise of the Duelist, and Toon Chaos. Whew, that should serve as a little bit of foreshadowing. There are a lot of cards in this archetype, so strap in. The gimmick of the deck is that, on their own, many of the Noble Knights have no power, since what is a knight without his sword? The idea then is to equip them with any of the Noble Arms equipped spells. This is because, firstly, it will enable whatever the monster's effect is, making it able to search or summon further cards to bolster the field. Secondly, the actual Noble Arm will bestow a divine protection onto its wielder, be it destruction immunity, attack power increases, or even just the power to destroy. The inspiration behind these mechanics is that the knights are wielding powerful weapons of legend, imbued with magical properties. Furthermore, an additional archetypal effect is that the Noble Arms possess the ability that, if the monster or the weapon is destroyed, it will return from the grave and be passed onto another Noble Knight, symbolizing the passing down of ancestral weapons to their successors. Though, if the original monster does survive, then he can re-receive his weapon, if the user so wishes. On top of all of this, the true main goal of the deck is to get out any of the extra deck boss monsters, since some of them have the ability that, when they are summoned, they can attach multiple Noble Arms cards in the graveyard to themselves, making them into a monster with a multitude of effects. In fact, this is made even easier by another of the archetype's gimmicks. You see, many have the effect that if they are equipped with a Noble Arm, their level will increase by 1, and at the same time will shift their attribute to Dark, making it even easier to get the strongest of the extra deck Noble Knights out. And overall, with so many different mechanics as part of their archetypal abilities, it makes the Noble Knights very versatile. In terms of inspiration, the Noble Knights are all based on the Knights of the Round Table from Arthurian legend, while the Infernoble Knights are instead inspired by the French 12 Peers of Charlemagne, 12 elite knights very akin to that of the Knights of the Round Table, making them a perfect pair to go together. The weapons themselves are all iconic weapons that have appeared throughout these tales. We'll get to them a little bit later, but for now, since we know a little bit more about the archetype, let's take a look at each of the cards, see who and what they're inspired by, starting with Noble Knight Archetype. His flavor text reads, "No one shall ever know the truth behind that fateful day. Archetype went forth to wear the brilliant sword display. 'Twas the first of many feats so great, a legend through and through. We sing of him, Archetype, the noble and the brave, from the tales of the Noble Knights." The only normal monster of the archetype, and the one with the largest flavor text of all normal monsters, the reason why this monster is normal is because he's based on the legend of King Arthur. This Archetype has not yet pulled the sword from the stone to kickstart his destiny. You see, he is based on King Arthur, a figure from English lore. He was known also by his full name of Arthur Pendragon. When Arthur was born, his father, Uther Pendragon, sent him away into hiding, as a wise wizard known as Merlin spoke of a future he had foresaw, the country of England in turmoil, and the right to the seat of power in question. Sadly, what was predicted would come to pass. A vicious war that would throw the throne into a state of limbo. Merlin, using his magic, made a decree. He planted a sword into a stone with the inscription, "Whosoever pulleth out the sword from this stone is the right-wise born king of all England." Those that believed themselves worthy attempted, but failed the test to draw the sword. That was until an older Arthur would appear, and by accident draw the sword from its pedestal, making him the true ruler. He was able to do this because he was the only one who would truly pursue justice for his country. After this, now King Arthur would take a wife, Guinevere, amass a group of knights to bring peace to his country, build a castle as his base in the land of Camelot, issue a quest for the Holy Grail, and obtain the legendary blade Excalibur from the Lady in the Lake. And unfortunately, despite all of these great feats, if you fast forward to the end of Arthur's story, it ends in sadness and death. The last of the knights to see him alive was Noble Knight Bedwyr, known in the Japanese as Holy Knight Bedivere. Its effect is when this card is normal or special summoned, you can send one Noble Arms equipped spell from your deck to the graveyard. During either player's turn, you can target one Noble Arms equipped spell card and one appropriate monster on the field. Equip that equipped spell card to that appropriate monster. A monster based on Sir Bedivere, a loyal ally to Arthur. He is most notable for being present at the final battle of Camlan, with only he and a fatally wounded Arthur left alive. Arthur would issue a final request with his dying breath, to cast his legendary blade Excalibur back into the lake from whence it came. This was to avoid the sword falling into the wrong hands. Though reluctant, thinking of all the good this sword could do for England, he did as his king asked, and returned the blade back to the lake. An act that is referenced in this card's art, and in his effect, as it too casts a sword from the deck into the dark abyss of the grave. Noble Knight Boars. This card is treated as a normal monster while face up on the field. While equipped with a Noble Arms equipped spell card, this card becomes an effect monster with these effects. This card becomes dark and its level is increased by 1. During your main phase, you can reveal 3 Noble Arms cards from your deck. Have your opponent randomly add one of them to your hand and send the rest to the grave. Noble Knight Quel'Chavad. This card is treated as a normal monster while face up on the field. While equipped with a Noble Arms equipped spell card, this card becomes an effect monster with this effect. You can target one Noble Knight monster in your grave, add it to your hand, and if you do, destroy one Noble Arm equipped spell card you control. Noble Knight Peredur, known in the Japanese as Holy Knight Percival. While equipped with a Noble Arms equipped spell card, this card becomes dark, and its level is increased by 1. If this card is sent to the graveyard while equipped with a Noble Arms equipped spell card, target one Noble Arms card in your graveyard, add that target to your hand. These 3 knights are based on Sir Bors the Younger, Sir Galahad, and Sir Percival, collectively known as the Grail Knights. They were named so as they were the ones to pursue the Holy Grail, an item said to bestow the drinker with eternal youth, everlasting happiness, and the power to heal all wounds. On their quest, though they were able to find the Grail, it was taken by a bright light, becoming forever out of reach of man. This experience left only Sir Bors able to return home, as Percival, after all he had seen, chose to live a life of solitude, while Galahad died shortly after. The fact that Noble Knight Bors was the only one to return might be why he was the only one shown in the Grail in his artwork. Noble Knight Brothers. This card can only attack if you control exactly 3 Noble Knight monsters and over monsters. When this card is normal summoned, you can special summon up to 2 Noble Knight monsters from your hand. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn, except Noble Knight monsters. Once per turn, you can target 3 Noble Knight and or Noble Arms cards in your graveyard, shuffle all 3 into the deck, then draw 1 card. Noble Knight Gawain. If you control a light normal monster, you can special summon this card from your hand in defense position. The 3 Noble Knight brothers, along with Noble Knight Gawain, are actually all based on the brothers Sir Agravain, Sir Gareth, Sir Gareth, and the most well-known, Sir Gawain. While all nephews of King Arthur and all considered great knights, Gawain himself was noted to have been one of the greatest knights in Arthur's company, and both a dear friend to Arthur and another knight, Lancelot. However, after Lancelot's betrayal, he would turn his back on him and side with King Arthur. Noble Knight Custennin. known in the Japanese as Holy Knight Corneus. If you control a Noble Arms equipped spell, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only special summon Noble Knight Custonin once per turn this way. A Noble Knight monster that was Synchro, Xyz, or Link summoned using this card on the field as material gains this effect. If this card is special summoned, you can normal summon one Noble Knight monster during your main phase this turn, in addition to your normal summon or set. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn, except Noble Knight monsters. This knight is based on Constantine of Britain, who was King Arthur's cousin and the successor to the throne. Noble Knight Dristan, known in the Japanese as Holy Knight Tristan. While you control another Noble Knight monster, your opponent cannot target your monsters with less than 1800 attack, except this card with card effects, and their monsters cannot target them with attacks. If a Noble Arms equipped spell becomes equipped to this card, target one face-up card on the field, destroy that target. This knight is based on Sir Tristan, known for his legend of Tristan and Isolde, which tells of a tale of how one day, whilst he was transporting the maiden Isolde to his uncle, he and her both accidentally consumed a love potion. The two, now madly in love, had to hide their affair from their uncle. However, slowly over time, the potion began to fade, and their true feelings for each other could be revealed. Noble Knight Ivan. If a Noble Arms equipped spell card becomes equipped to this card, you can special summon one Noble Knight token. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn except Noble Knight monsters. While this card is equipped with a Noble Arms equipped spell, all other Noble Knight monsters you control gain 500 attack. This card is based on Sir Iwain. He was most well known for rescuing a lion from a fierce dragon, after which the lion became his ever-faithful companion and would stay by his side to his final days, something that is referenced in his card artwork. Noble Knight Pellinor. You can target one Noble Arms equipped spell equipped to this card and one face-up monster your opponent controls, destroy them, then draw one card. Also, this card cannot attack for the rest of this turn. This knight is based on King Pellinor, who is the king of Listonese and a friend to King Arthur. He was said to have broken the sword Arthur had pulled from the stone in combat. However, most notably, he hunted the questing beast, a creature with the head of a snake, the body of a leopard, the legs of a lion, and the feet of a stag. Noble Knight Joan, known in the Japanese as Holy Knight Jean. If this card attacks, it loses 300 attack during the damage step only. If this card in your possession is destroyed by your opponent's card, either by battle or card effect and sent to the grave, you can send one card from your hand to the grave, then target one level 4 or lower warrior type monster in your graveyard, add that target to your hand. The only female knight in the Noble Knights, this monster isn't actually associated with Arthurian legend. Instead, she is based on a notable figure from France, which is more akin to the Infernoble Knights. She is based on Joan of Arc, who was a peasant girl who, after believing she was acting under divine guidance, led the French army to victory against the English during the 100-Year War. Noble Knight Medrawt, known in the Japanese as Holy Knight Mordred. This card is treated as a normal monster while face up on the field. While equipped with a Noble Arms equipped spell, this becomes an effect monster with this effect. This card becomes dark and its level is increased by 1. Once per turn, if you control no other monsters, you can special summon one Noble Knight monster from your deck in defense position, except Noble Knight Medrawt, and if you do, destroy one equipped spell you control. This card's effect, becoming dark and increasing its level by 1 when equipped with a Noble Arms equipped card, reflects Mordred's betrayal when he usurped King Arthur's position as king. You see, this knight is based on Sir Mordred, the illegitimate son of King Arthur. Arthur was ashamed of this child because, well, he might have accidentally had him with his cousin. Yeah. So not wanting this information to get out, he attempted to have him killed by sending him away at sea. However, Mordred's ship crashed upon some rocks, and so he survived. Despite his lineage, Mordred actually grew up and became a despicable knight, committing countless crimes and gaining no favour with the other knights. A monk would one day reveal his heritage to him, along with a prophecy that stated he would lead England to its ruin. After hearing this, he went on an absolute bender and tried to usurp the king, where after the events of Lancelot's civil war broke out, he would find Arthur on the battlefield and would be challenged to a duel by Arthur. Arthur called him a traitor and plunged his spear through his chest. However, just before he would die, Mordred would fatally stab Arthur with Arthur's own ceremonial sword, Clarent. Ignoble Knight of Blacklands Lane, known in the Japanese as Unholy Knight Lancelot. You can send one face-up light normal monster you control to the graveyard, special summon this card from your hand or grave. You contribute one Noble Knight monster, add one Noble Arms card from your deck to your hand. You can only control one Ignoble Knight of Blacklands Lane. This monster is based on Sir Lancelot, one of the greatest knights of all time. He was also known by Lancelot of the Lake, as he was raised by the Lady in the Lake herself. Lancelot stands as the living embodiment of a perfect knight, a person who was capable and willing to do whatever he must. However, in the end, the most basic of human emotions is what would set about the ruin to his knightly ways. For you see, Lancelot fell in love. Unfortunately, it was with King Arthur's wife, Guinevere. This act and the actions that would follow would set into motion a chain reaction that would cause a civil war, a war that would ultimately end in the fall of King Arthur. Noble Knight Ector, known in the Japanese as Holy Knight Ector de Maris. You can banish two Noble Knight monsters from your graveyard, special summon this card from your hand or grave. You can only use this effect of Noble Knight Ector once per turn. A synchro or exceed summon of a Noble Knight monster using this card as material cannot be negated. Also, your opponent can activate cards or effects when that monster is special summoned. This Noble Knight is based on Sir Hector de Maris, half-brother of Lancelot. This relationship is actually shown in this monster's effect, as it too can be special summoned from the grave, just like Lancelot can. Lady of the Lake, known in the Japanese as Vivian Lady of the Lake, she cannot be used as a synchro material, except for the synchro summon of a warrior type monster. If this card is used for a synchro summon, banish it. When this card is normal summoned, you can target one Noble Knight normal monster in your graveyard, special summon that target. If this card is in your graveyard, you can target one level 5 Noble Knight monster you control, reduce its level by 1, and if you do, special summon this card from the grave. She is based on an enchantress that would serve as Lancelot's mother and the one to give Arthur the sword Excalibur, something she is actually seen holding in the artwork. Guinevere, Queen of Noble Arms, known in the Japanese as Guinevere, the Queen who bears the Holy Sword. You can target one Noble Knight monster you control, equip this card from your hand or grave to that monster. You can only use the effect of Guinevere, Queen of Noble Arms once per turn. The equipped monster gains 300 attack, apply the appropriate effect depending on the attribute of the equipped monster. Light. If the equipped monster would be destroyed by a card effect, you can destroy this card instead. Dark. If the equipped monster battles an opponent's monster at the start of the damage step, you can destroy that monster, then destroy this card. Wife to King Arthur and affair to Lancelot, the duality of this woman is shown by the fact that this monster can provide beneficial effects for both light, like Arthur, and dark, like Lancelot, monsters in the archetype. Morgan, the Enchantress of Avalon, known in the Japanese as Morgan, the Witch of Avalon. When your opponent activates a card or effect while you control a Noble Knight monster and a Noble Arms equipped spell, quick effect, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard, destroy one Noble Arms equipped spell you control, and if you do, negate the activation. This monster is based on another enchantress, Morgana, a sorceress who was responsible for healing Arthur at her island, Avalon, when he was in a bad shape. And in terms of the Noble Knight lore, perhaps it was Morgan who blessed Arthur's weapons to imbue them with the magical energy that gives it its glow. Merlin, known in the Japanese as Legendary Prophet Merlin. You can only use each effect of Merlin once per turn. You contribute this card, special summon one Noble Knight monster from your deck. You cannot special summon monsters the turn you activate this effect except Noble Knight monsters. Quick effect, you can banish this card from your grave, immediately synchro summon one Noble Knight synchro monster using monsters you control. Quick effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard, immediately exceed summon one Noble Knight exceeds monster using monsters you control. Merlin is based on the wizard Merlin, the person who engineers Arthur's rise to becoming king. Isolde, Two Tales of the Noble Knights, known in the Japanese as Isolde, Reminiscence of the Holy Knights. If this card is link summoned, you can add one warrior monster from your deck to your hand, but for the rest of this turn, you cannot normal summon, set, or special summon monsters with that name, nor activate their monster effects. You can send any number of equipped spells with different names from your deck to the graveyard. Special summon one warrior monster from your deck whose level equals the number of cards sent to the grave. The only link monster in the archetype so far, this monster is based on two women from the story of Tristan and Isolde. Basically, after the love potion fiasco we talked about earlier, Tristan got better and him and Isolde split up because, you know, they were a love potion, like maybe it wasn't real. And then he went out with another girl called Isolit. However, while he was with her, he actually got poisoned. So he requests for her to get his ex-girlfriend Isolde to come, as she knows how to cure the poison. He also specifies that whoever brings her to use white sails if she is on the ship returning, or black sails if she is not. This is so that they can know as soon as possible if a cure is on its way. Tristan, who is now bedridden, asks Isolde if he sees the ship, which she does. However, jealous that his ex was coming, she lies and says that the sails were black. Tristan dies immediately with despair from hearing this, and when Isolde arrives with the cure, she also dies too, just from grief. You know, bit awkward. But what's interesting about this is, if you look at the artwork of this card, you can actually see the different colours of the sails behind the two women. And each of the women in this artwork are reflecting the two in the story. Sacred Noble Knight of King Custennin, known in the Japanese as Sacred Holy Knight King Corneus. You can detach any number of materials from this card, then target that many cards your opponent controls, return them to the hand. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect and sent to the grave, you can special summon one Noble Knight Xyz monster from your extra deck, except Sacred Noble Knight of King Custennin. And if you do, attach this card from the graveyard to that monster as material. This is treated as an Xyz summon. This monster is the upgraded form of Noble Knight Custennin. The reason why Custennin is given an Xyz upgraded form, unlike all the others, is most likely because he was the one next in line to the throne. Arthur also has upgraded forms, as he was the king, so Custennin should too. In fact, speaking of, Artorigus, King of the Noble Knights. When this card is Xyz summoned, you can target up to 3 Noble Arms equipped spells from different names in your graveyard, equip those targets to this card. Once per turn, you can attach one Xyz material from this card, destroy any number of spells or trap on the field, up to the number of Noble Arms equipped spell cards you control. Sacred Noble Knight of King Artorigus. When this card is Xyz summoned, you can target up to 3 Noble Arms equipped spell cards with different names in your graveyard, equip those targets to this card. Once per turn, you can attach one Xyz material from this card, then target one other monster on the field, destroy that target. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can target one level 4 or higher Noble Knight monster in your grave, special summon that target. Both these monsters are upgraded forms of Artorigus. Each new form actually increases by 200 attack and defense each more than the previous one. In fact, the other extra deck monsters also follow this trend. Ignoble Knight of Highland Slain, known in the Japanese as Unholy Knight King Lancelot. When this card is synchro summoned, you can equip one Noble Arms, equip spell card from your deck to this card. At the end of the battle phase, if this card destroyed a monster by battle and sent to the grave, you can add one Noble Knight or Noble Arms card from your deck to your hand. You can only control one Ignoble Knight of Highland Slain. This monster is the upgraded form of Ignoble Knight of Blackland Slain. Everything in his artwork shows a little about his past, such as his sword Aphrodite, which is based on Lancelot's actual sword Arundite. The lake shows how he was raised by the Lady in the Lake, and since he is now wielding Artorigus's Caliburn, now imbued with his own red magic, this could symbolize his usurping of the king, something that the Arthurian legend Lancelot did not do. For you see, Lancelot, ashamed of everything that had transpired, lived out the rest of his life in solitude, eventually asking upon his death to be buried alongside his king and queen. I wonder if we'll ever get a Lancelot redemption card. Konami, maybe make it happen? The Infant Nobles are based on 12 French Knights of Myth. They were an elite group of warriors that, while similar in concept to the Arthurian Knights of the Round Table, was special because each would fight alongside a companion within their ranks, as a means to watch each other's back and help each other grow in battle. Roland, the mightiest and the leader of the 12, fought alongside Oliver. Sadly, just like the Arthurian legend, this group of warriors would also fall to despair, which was illustrated in the Song of Roland. So far in the archetype we have Infant Noble Knight Roland. Quick effect, you can target one face-up monster you control, equip this card from your hand to that target as an equipped spell, that gives that card 500 attack. During the end phase, if this card is in the graveyard because it was sent there this turn, you can add one fire monster except Infant Noble Knight Roland, or one equipped spell card from your deck to your hand. Infant Noble Knight Renaud. If you control a fire warrior monster, you can special summon this card. If summoned this way, treat this card as a tuner. You can only special summon Infant Noble Knight Renaud once per turn this way. If this card is special summoned, you can target one of your fire warrior monsters or one of your equipped spells that is banished or in your grave, except Infant Noble Knight Renaud, add it to your hand. In for Noble Knight Astolfo, you can banish one fire monster from your hand or graveyard, special summon this card from your hand, then you can make this card's level become the level of the banished monster. You can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon this banished card during your second standby phase after this effect's activation. Then you can special summon one of your fire warrior monsters that is banished or in your grave. In for Noble Knight Morgus. While this card is an equipped card, the equipped monster cannot be destroyed by battle. You can only use each of the following effects of Noble Knight Morgus once per turn. If this card is sent to the grave, you can shuffle into the deck 3 of your other Fire Warrior monsters and or Noble Arms cards that are banished in your graveyard, draw 1 card. If this card is in your graveyard, you can target 1 warrior monster you control, equip this card to that monster you control. In for Noble Knight Yugioh. While this card is an equipped card, the equipped monster cannot be destroyed by card effects. You can only use each of the following effects of Noble Knight Yugioh once per turn. If this card is normal or special summon, you can send 1 Noble Arms card or 1 Fire Warrior monster, except in for Noble Knight Yugioh, from your deck to the graveyard. If this card is in your graveyard, you can target 1 warrior monster you control, equip this card to that monster you control. In for Noble Knight Oliver. While this card is an equipped card, your opponent cannot target the equipped monster with card effects. You can only use each of the following effects of Noble Knight Oliver once per turn. You can send 1 Fire Warrior monster or 1 equipped spell from your hand or face-up field to the grave, special summon this card from your hand as a level 1 monster. If this card is in your grave, you can target 1 warrior monster you control, equip this card to that monster you control. In for Noble Knight Captain Oliver. When this card declares an attack while equipped, you can target 1 face-up card on the field, destroy it. During your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the grave, you can target 1 warrior monster you control, special summon this card from your graveyard as a tuner. And if you do, equip that monster you control to this card as an equipped spell that gives it 500 attack. In for Noble Knight Roland. If this card is synchro summoned, you can activate this effect during the end phase of this turn. Send 1 equipped spell from your deck to the grave, add 1 warrior monster from your deck to your hand. During the main phase, if this card is in your graveyard, quick effect, you can target 1 warrior monster you control, equip this card to that monster you control as an equipped spell that gives it 500 attack. In for Noble Knight Emperor Charles. If an equipped card becomes equipped to a monster on the field, even during the damage step, you can destroy 1 card on the field. During the end phase, you can equip 1 equipped spell from your hand or graveyard to this card. Then you can equip 1 Fire Warrior monster from your deck to this card as an equipped spell that gives it 500 attack. It is clear to see that we still have a few more of the knights to come. Not all of the 12 Knights of Charlemagne are here, so let's round this video off now with the spells and the traps. Noble Knights of the Round Table. It's based on the Knights of the Round Table. Heritage of the Chalice, based on the Holy Grail. Glory of the Noble Knights. It's just showing their glory really, isn't it? Last chapter of the Noble Knights, known in the Japanese as End of the Legend of the Holy Knights. This card is based on when Bedivere returned Caliburn back to the Lady in the Lake. Lancelot's sword is also visible here because after these events, he renounced his knightly ways and went into hiding. Noble Narm's Arthroduter. This is based on Lancelot's sword, Arendite, also known as the Unfading Light of the Lake. This sword is a counterpart to Arthur's Excalibur, and as such it is equally as powerful. Noble Arms Caliburn, based on one iteration of Excalibur, as its name is literally just Excalibur minus a couple letters. This sword is the version that was drawn from the stone, whereas Noble Arms Excaliburn is the version that was given to Arthur from the Lady in the Lake. It is a sword said to have magical capabilities, and was forged in a realm not of our own. Noble Arms Clarent. Based on the identically named Clarent, it was another of Arthur's swords. However, this one was more of a ceremonial weapon for knighting. However, ironically, this weapon would be stolen by Mordred and be the weapon that would deliver the killing blow to Arthur. Noble Arms Gallatin. It is based on Gawain's sword, Galuf. Noble Arms of Destiny. Based on both Galahad's sword and shield. He received the sword by pulling it out of a stone near a river with the inscription reading, "Never shall man take me, only he by whose side I ought to hang, and he shall be the best knight of the world." The shield, however, was given to him when he set off for the quest for the Holy Grail. It was a white shield adorned with a red cross of blood? Ooh. Until Noble Arms are needed once again, known in the Japanese as the future guided by the Holy Swords. Avalon, known in the Japanese as Promised Land Avalon. Avalon is a place that Morgana took Arthur after he was heavily injured in the Battle of Camelon. And finally, we have the Infernoble Arms. Infernoble Arms Durandal, which is the sword of Roland. Infernoble Arms Hortclear, this is the sword of Oliver. Infernoble Arms Joyous, that is the sword that was wielded by Charlemagne, the king of the Franks, and the sword means, I think, happiness, joyous, you know. And finally, Horn of Oilfant, which is a type of horn. Before we go and ask you all a question, if you could wield any of the noble arms, which one would you wield and why? For myself, I'm gonna go with Caliban. I like it, it's pretty cool. Big thank yous to my Patreon and YouTube backers. First of all, to my Platinum backers, NemoChan77, Daniel Toms, You Know You Do 97. Thank you for giving that little bit extra. As well to my YouTube and Gold backers, Michael Waklowski, Silver Defender, Stefan Pole, Danny Bound, Goosey Q, Ignis Drasil, Omar Lopez, Yugioh Everything, Yokaido Kenya, Queen Elizabeth Denise Leggin, Jeremy Pontier, and Kobe Selvaniagam. Also, thank you to my Silver backers. Thank you for supporting the channel. See you soon.